which makes this quintessentially the first cocktail.
Decided to open a grocer's in Kilmarnock in Scotland. Why Kilmarnock was a very strategic place to open his grocer's was it was in between Greenock and Glasgow. Greenock was an incredibly important trading port in the 1800s, and Glasgow, being the second city of the empire, was the largest shipbuilding port in the world. Because of these two ports, Greenock and Glasgow, John Walker was inundated with many different teas, spices and herbs and silks from the New World. John started blending these teas together because he wanted to create a bespoke and uniform and consistent tea for his customer base. From seeing what this relationship and what this tea and how it built his relationship with his customers through trust, John started looking at the whiskey barrel in the corner. Whiskey also sold through groceries. To say the best, it was inconsistent. You could go to any distillery across Scotland, but what you would get the next year would be completely different. John, seeing a gap in the market and utilising his tea blending skills, started to blend his whiskey. So popular was John's whiskey that through word of mouth of Walker's search for exploration of flavours, he sustained and created a legacy that is now near 200 years of master blenders distilling Johnnie Walker, and they still do to this day. His son Alexander took over after his retirement. Alexander in 1867 created Old Highland whiskey, which you can still see the flavour nuances in our Johnnie Walker Red Label. But he wanted more. He wanted to take something good and he wanted to make it great. He wanted every merchant, trader, sailor and soldier across the world to be drinking Johnnie Walker whiskey. But how could he do this? There was no internet. The Silk Route or Silk Road had far expired beyond its years. We had ships, we had two ports. John did this through what is now known as the adventure merchant business. He took his whiskey, he took it to Greenock and Glasgow, and he gave these cases of whiskey over to ship's captains. These ship's captains would then sell this whiskey across everywhere they moored or ported around the world, which technically make these ships and captains the first brand ambassadors of Johnnie Walker. So well was this practice of marketing that it established Johnnie Walker as the global brand as we know it today. 10 years after having Old Highland whiskey come out, Johnnie Walker is the number one sold whiskey in Sydney. South Africa has opened up as a new potential market and continent. The American and Indian markets are established. Penang and Singapore follow very shortly. The next year, Johnnie Walker opens a store in Paris to corner the European market. 100 years from the day that John Walker opened that grocery in Kilmarnock, Johnnie Walker is sold in over 120 countries across the world. The same year, his grandson, also by the name of Alexander, is knighted by King George V. This bottle, or this ceremony of knighthood, is commemorated, is celebrated, if you will, in our King George V. If nobody's had it, it's not in the bar tonight, but it's definitely in the lobby bar. Enjoy it. In the last 90 years, Johnnie Walker has walked across the world. We are now the number one sold whiskey or number one sold blended whiskey across the world. We sell 130 million bottles per year. All because of one 14-year-old lad's glint in his eye. We have marched across the world and we show no signs of stopping now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zach Abbott. I am the brand ambassador of Johnnie Walker and the bar is open. I'll see you there. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much indeed, Zach.
So with me is Zach. He's the brand ambassador for Johnnie Walker. Keep walking. One of my favorite taglines throughout the world. What a tagline. Keep walking. Now what really inspires you?
Women in fast cars.
Wow. Women
and good whiskey.
So women in fast cars Or
Not drinking whiskey though, because that would be drinking responsibly.
I know. So I did record what you were talking on stage, and then this is going to be a different segment.
Fantastic.
Because not a lot of people knew about the history of the whiskey. I'm glad you brought that up. Now tell us something that people who fear whiskey.
Something to get them on side, perhaps.
Yeah.
The whiskey world is a very big world, and just because you've had a whiskey that you maybe possibly don't enjoy does not mean that there's not a whiskey out there for you. We have 4 amazing regions, 5 actually, amazing regions for whiskey in Scotland. We have the Lowlands, the Highlands, the Speyside, the Isla, and a very small region called Campbelltown. All of these have different flavour nuances and flavour articulations, and the Speyside and the Lowlands are quite soft, the Highlands are harsh, Isla is smoky, germinated with peat smoke. So there's many whiskies out there, and talk to your bartender, talk to your local brand ambassador, and we'll look after you.
Okay. Another question. You said that the vision of the whiskey was that everybody in the world could afford it or to buy it, right?
It was the idea that every trader, merchant, sailor and soldier across the 4 corners of the globe would be drinking Johnnie Walker. And actually only 100 years after Johnnie Walker or Old Highland whiskey was actually produced, we were in 120 countries across the world, and today we sell 130 million bottles per year. So, yeah.
Wow. And which is your favorite drink?
It depends on my mood, my company and the color of my dress.
Wow. Okay. Now that's a good one. What are you going to suggest me to drink today?
I'm going to suggest you today to drink an old fashioned. We're going to have a Johnnie Walker Black Label old fashioned made by myself.
Done. Let's go.
Cheers. Well, I don't drive when I drink. I've not actually driven for about 10 years now. Do you know what's funny is that's not a lie. Yes, sir.
So Zach, what did you put into this?
Cocktails and dreams.
Wow.
I put in some Angostura bitters, which is not really a bit of flavouring, it's more of a cocktail seasoning. I've added a little bit of sweet and whiskey. So the word cocktail itself was first described in 1806, and it was described as a mixture of bitters, sugar, spirit and water, which makes this quintessentially the first cocktail. Cheers to you, cheers to me, cheers to the Conrad. Enjoy.